Hi, I'm Philip from Optimize Lab, and in this video I'm going to be answering the question, should I increase my Google Ads bids? Now, to answer that question, the first thing we need to go over is, why would you be thinking about increasing your Google Ads bids? Well, what would motivate an advertiser to increase their bids is to effectively generate more sales and more revenue by getting their ads to appear higher in the search engine, because ultimately the position an ad gets within the search engine results is dictated by an auction, and whoever bids highest is more likely to appear at the top of the search engine. So that's the main driver, the main motivator. Advertisers want to generate more traffic and get more customers and more clients and more revenue. Now, if that's the case, then why do people debate, should I increase my bids or should I not? And ultimately it comes down to, if you increase your bids, you're going to see an increase in cost. And the next question is going to be, if I'm increasing the cost of my campaign and I'm spending more money and I'm giving more money to Google, is that actually going to translate into more customers and more clients for my business? And so that's the topic of today's video. Now, to answer that question, we need to look at an example. So I've got an example here, and basically when that question arises within an account, you need to look at whether or not the current bids are allowing you to achieve a high search impression share. So, for example, if your account is generating a 60% impression share, you might ask, okay, well, we're getting 60% of potential searches. What would it take to get the remaining 40%? How much more do we have to bid? And is that going to allow us to generate more customers? So we've got an example account here, and we can see so far this month, the impression share has been 80%, which is actually very good. That's excellent, because that means out of 10 searches, for the sake of argument, the ad is appearing for 8 of those searches, so 80%, which is a high figure. But then the question is, how do we get the remaining 20%? So the first part of answering that question is, what are you losing that 20% to, or whatever the percentage is? And you can look at these two columns. So the first is search impression share, of course. And then where are we losing that to? So you've got search impression share lost to rank and search impression share lost to budget. And if you're losing it to budget, in this case it's not, but if you are losing it to budget, then the change that needs to be made in order to potentially increase that is increasing the campaign budget, increasing those budgets. But in this case, it's being lost to rank. What does that mean? That means the ad is not ranked high enough. And to get it to rank higher, you have to bid higher in order to get that extra traffic. So that's the first part to look at. And so the answer to the question for this account is, there is a potential to generate additional traffic purely by bidding higher. So the next question is, what's the optimal bid? What do we need to increase our average cost per click to in order to get that benefit? And the thing to do to answer that question is to test different bid settings and see what gets the best result. Within Google Ads, the best way to find optimal performance is through testing. So within this account, a different target CPA has been tested, because these campaigns are using the target CPA bid strategy. So the way to test different bid settings is by changing that target CPA. And so in this case, that is controlled by a portfolio bid strategy, which I can open up into a new tab. So we're just going to go to bid strategies here, and we're going to just quickly take a look. So we can see the target here is £200, and that's been an increase from £150. So if we go back to our data, we can see the results of making that change. Has it helped? And should we continue with the new settings? And so we've got some early performance to give us an early indication of the answer to that question, because ultimately we're testing here, and we're never going to know at the beginning, before we've tested those settings, what the outcome is going to be. That's the reason we're testing. And so if we look at this as an example, we can see after making the adjustment of increasing that target CPA, have we seen additional conversions generated within the account? And so we can look at the data for that. Now, so far, there has not been, from making that change, an improvement in performance that we can see so far. And so we can begin to then make a decision on what we need to do next and whether or not those bids need to stay increased. So what I'm going to do is compare the date range quickly. So we're just going to select from the date that change was made until today, and then we're going to compare it to a period of equal length. And so we're going to quickly go ahead and look at the change in performance. So firstly, what do we expect to happen when we are increasing our bids? Because we're trying to get more traffic. So what do we expect to happen? Well, firstly, we're going to see a higher search impression share, we hope, because our ads are appearing in a higher position. And we have seen that. So we've seen the search impression share increase by 9%. And so we also expect to therefore generate more impressions. More people are going to see the ad because it's in a higher position. And so we've seen a 40% increase in impressions. We also expect to see more clicks, because if you're getting more impressions, those should translate into an increase in clicks. And we've seen an 81% increase in clicks. Fantastic. And of course, because the ad is in a higher position, we expect that ad to get a higher click-through rate, because an ad low in the results page is going to get an impression, but because it's low, it's less likely to get a click than if it's high up. So our click-through rate, we expect that to go up, and that's gone up by 28%. And the click-through rate is 12.49%, which is great. That's what we expect to see. That's a good click-through rate for a search campaign. Fantastic. And because we're bidding higher, we expect our cost per click to go up. Of course, we'd like to spend less, but that's what we expect to happen. We're going to be spending more per click. And so that's gone up by 26%. So these are all things that we are expecting to see. Additionally, the impressions at the absolute top of the page, that's also increased by 27%. So the ads are appearing at the absolute top position of the page 75% of the time, which is very good. That's strong. And so because when our ads are appearing at the top of the page, we expect to be getting, and higher than it was before, we expect to be getting more conversions. We should be getting more leads or more sales coming through as a result of that. That's what we'd expect to see. But that's not always going to be what we find to happen. And if that does happen, we need to make an adjustment based on that. So what we're seeing at this moment in time is that the number of conversions hasn't actually gone up. It's stayed around about the same. It's actually slightly gone down. So that's gone down by 18%. And of course, if we're spending a lot more, we spend 130% more. If we're spending more and getting the same number of leads, then our cost per lead or our cost per conversion is going to go up. So we're spending more for roughly the same amount of conversions. And of course, we're getting more traffic, but we're getting a similar number of leads. So the conversion rate's gone down. And so what does this tell us? Now, firstly, this is very early on in the test, but it's giving us an early indication. So the results could be due potentially just to variance of week to week. So it might just be that it's been a bad few days and that we need to give this test a bit more time. But the early indication tells us that increasing the bids hasn't resulted in increased conversions, increased leads for the campaigns. And a potential reason for that we have to always be aware of is diminishing returns, and the fact that if you give Google the opportunity to spend more per conversion, there's always the possibility that those additional auctions that your ad is going to be placed in, and those additional target users that Google is reaching with those ads, it's always a potential that those were not good potential clients to be reaching. And that's why those people were not included, those types of people were not included when you were bidding at the lower settings. So basically, when you set your target CPA, if you set a lower target CPA, Google is going to use your ad budget to target the people who are most likely to convert. So if you're already targeting those people, who's left over? The people who are left over are the ones who are less likely to convert. The people who are more likely to be window shopping or more likely to be time wasters, and ultimately less likely to become a customer for you. So when you give Google the opportunity to bid higher, then you're targeting those people that were previously not being included in your targeting, and that might not translate, of course, because you're targeting the people who were previously excluded. Increasing your bids may not result in you getting any additional customers or sales. So this is part of the test, and if you get these types of results, the next thing to do is to test a lower target. So if you increase from 150 target CPA to 200, and 200 is not really generating anything extra, then you can dial it back to 175. And if that doesn't generate you leads, any additional leads, you can dial it back to 160. And then after that, put it back to 150 where it was before. And then you know that that is the optimal setting for your account. And what you ultimately need to do is look at other channels where you can generate those extra leads and help the account or your marketing campaign to expand that way. So to summarize, to answer the question, should you increase your Google Ads bids? The first thing to do is to ascertain, is there an opportunity to generate additional impression share by increasing those bids? If the answer is yes, the next step is to test different bid settings and see if they generate additional leads at the price you want, and that will be the ultimate answer to the question. So I hope that's been informative and useful, and it'll help with managing your campaigns or your clients' campaigns. And thanks for watching.